All right, guys, so I am going to show you guys how to use your graphing calculator to find your supply and demand line. And then you can watch the other part of the video lesson, and whichever one of those graphs that your line ends up fitting in, whether it's the standard, the Giffen, or the Veblen, the not enough info, that should give you enough information to go ahead and find the best possible price for your mini business. Okay, so let's say after I conduct my survey, I end up with this as my data. So if I charged $5 for my either necklace or my dozen of cookies, then 4 people said they'd buy it, and depending on what you decided for your business. Okay, and then if I charge $10, 15 people bought it, 12, 11. All right. So what you're going to do first is you're going to go to Stat, right here, Stat. And then we want to edit. So you're going to press the number 1 for edit. And then right here, go ahead and enter your data. 10, 12. You want to make sure it's in order. And if there's any other data in here past these 3 pieces, you want to make sure that you delete it. Okay, so you want to make sure your list looks like this. Okay, and then you're going to go to Stat again, go over, because you want to go into Calculate, and we want quadratic regression, so I'm going to hit the 5. Okay. Our X list is going to represent the money. Our Y list is going to represent how many people for every 30 that we try and sell something to are going to buy our product. Okay, if your calculator has the option, it looks like this, then I want you to come here and you're going to press these buttons. Now, some of your calculators aren't going to say this. It's just going to say the quad reg. If that's the case, just press enter and wait for the next step. Okay, so if yours does look like this, you're going to go here and you're going to press vars, press over, press 1, and then 1. We want it to look like that, and then press enter. Now, if your calculator didn't have the store reg equation option, and once you pressed enter, it's just going to look like this. Okay, so now you're going to want to write that equation down. So notice we're going to put this A in for A, B in for B, C in for C. So here's my quadratic for my situation. Now, if your calculator did not have the store reg equation option, then you now want to go into your Y equals, and you want to type that calculator in, or that information in. Notice that mine already put the info in. It put a bunch of extra zeros, but those aren't going to make any difference. Okay, so notice that again on mine, it put the equation already in there for me. Okay, and go to graph, and hopefully you'll see your quadratic, but you may not. Now what you want to do is start adjusting your window. So you can zoom. You can try doing zoom and then zoom fit. That might work for some of you. I can try going to zoom and zoom out. But I want to kind of center around the important part of the parabola. All these negatives don't really make sense for us. Okay. So I'm getting close there, but notice how I'm basically just going to try and play around with my zooming until I can see my parabola. I probably don't need such high on my Y's. That's going to shrink down here. Notice like I've zoomed out a ton. Here, I don't need all this extra space or this extra space, so I can come in here and maybe change the window of my X min and X max. The trick is you just have to kind of play around with it until you get a pretty good picture of your quadratic. So there's mine, okay? Now, if your graph looks like this, so it's concave down, then we know from our other lesson that that is a standard supply and demand curve. So we talked about that last class a little, how sometimes if we price our thing too low, people think it's cheap, they don't want to buy it. If we price it too high, they think it's overpriced, they don't want to buy it. And that this right here is kind of our best price. Okay, so to find that, we're going to use the calculator. So I'm going to go to second, calc, maximum, so you press the 4. Now it says left bound, so I'm looking at my blinking cursor here, and I need to ask the question, is it left of my vertex of my maximum that I'm trying to solve for? Okay, right now it is, so I'm going to press enter. And then I'm right bound, so right now my blinking cursor is left of that vertex, so I need to move it over here to the right. Then I can press enter. And guess, yes, we would like you to take a guess. So for my situation, it tells me I'm gonna be able to sell the most if I charge $9.33. And for every 30 people that I talk to, over 15 of them would buy it, my product. If it's cookies or quesadillas or necklaces or whatever, lemonade, whatever you decided to sell, okay? Now, let's say if your quadratic is I'm just gonna go ahead and don't worry about this. Again, your numbers and your data is different, so it's not gonna be exactly the same graph. Okay, but let's say my situation looked something like this. Okay, mostly I'm just trying to come up with one that's concave up. Okay, just 1 second here. Let's see if that's, that'll work. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, if yours is concave down, you don't have to watch this next part. If yours was concave up though, then we know it's either gonna fit into the Giffen or the Veblen category. Again, that information's in my other video. To find the best possible price, and this one is a little trickier because I don't wanna find the vertex because that's a minimum idea, right? So instead you wanna hit trace and you want to go trace until you get as close to 30 on the Y, 30 because that's how many people we surveyed, and that's kind of like the most that we can make this curve work for, and that would be your max price, okay? I am gonna put a rubric online so you know kind of everything that should be in the project by the end, and this is the last big thing going on your grade. Good job, you guys, and email me with any questions.